The Ghana Black Stars is one of the most beloved and decorated football teams in the history of African football. In 1957, Ghana gained independence and quickly embraced football as a symbol of its national pride. By the early 1960s, the Black Stars had already become a football powerhouse and a feared force on the African continent. In 1963, when hosting the AFCON for the first time, the Black Stars got their first title on their very first attempt. The team thrashed North African giant Sudan 3-0 in the final. Captain Edward Agre Finn opened the scoring and striker Edward Akwa added a brace, sending Accra's Independence Stadium into absolute chaos. That victory, just 6 years after they gained independence, resonated deeply with their citizens. Veteran striker Joseph Agyemang-Jewu later recalled that it united the whole country in months of celebration. President Kwame Nkrumah, who had led Ghana to independence half a decade earlier, saw the Black Stars as the face of Ghana's future. Sports writer Benjamin Kofi noted that Nkrumah wanted the team to be a shining example for all of Africa. 2 years later, Ghana proved that 1963 was no fluke. In Tunisia 1965, the Black Stars retained their AFCON crown and solidified their place as the best team in Africa. Ghana won their group and met the host in a thrilling final. Frank Odoi and Osei Kofi scored during regulation time to make it a 2-2 draw. In extra time, Odoi found the winner, sealing a 3-2 victory for Ghana. Captain CK Jemfi, who would later go on to become one of Africa's most decorated coaches, led a team which was known for its blend of flair and tactical discipline on the pitch. These back-to-back championships cemented Ghana's continental domination. Fans were marching and singing, and newspapers praised the new kings of Africa, the Black Stars of Africa. After a short period of not winning the Cup of Nations, Ghana's golden era had a comeback in the late 1970s. In 1978, Ghana hosted the Cup of Nations again. Coach Fred Osam Dodu built a resilient squad and the team fought through a very tough group. They first beat Zambia 2-1 and then they drew with Nigeria. Ghana then defeated Upper Volta, which is Burkina Faso today, to reach the semi-finals, where they beat Tunisia 1-0 to reach the final. In the final against Uganda, striker Opoku Efriye scored in each half, leading to a 2-0 victory for Ghana and Ghana's third AFCON title. Ghana's crowning achievement came at the 1982 African Cup in Libya. Despite a lot of turmoil and confusion back home, where a coup had just overthrown the Ghanaian government in late 1981, the Black Stars arrived determined and focused. In the group stage, Ghana drew 2-2 with host Libya and 0-0 with Cameroon, and then they beat Tunisia 1-0 to advance to the semi-finals. In the semi-finals against Algeria, Ghana fell behind 2-0, but they mounted an epic comeback. Striker George Al-Hassan scored twice, first in the 64th minute and the eventual winner in the 103rd minute, and Opoku Inti scored the equalizer in the 90th minute, giving Ghana a 3-2 win after extra time. In the final against Libya, Ghana scored first through George Al-Hassan, but the home side equalized late. After 120 minutes, the score was 1-1, forcing the African Cup of Nations' first ever final penalty shootout. Ghana prevailed 7-6 in the shootout to claim their fourth title. Ghana, the Black Stars of Africa, had then become the first nation to win 4 African Cup of Nations titles. Despite Ghana's dominance on the African stage, it stood in sharp contrast to its World Cup fate. Throughout that golden era, the Black Stars won 4 AFCON titles in less than 20 years, but they never appeared in the World Cup finals. If you ask anyone who was alive during that era, almost everyone has their own reason why Ghana never qualified for the World Cup. The truth is, there are so many reasons that could be blamed for the failures to qualify. The first major reason is that FIFA, in 1964, announced the 16-team World Cup. The Europeans had 10 teams, including host England, but the huge continents of Africa, Asia, and Oceania combined had to compete for one single slot. African nations, including Ghana, were outraged by what they called a pathetic arrangement. Ghana's players felt this frustration deeply. Star winger Osei Kofi later complained, "We had them then. We could have got to the World Cup at any given time." When qualifying came back from Mexico 1970, Ghana battled fiercely against their neighbors Nigeria, but ultimately they fell short, losing 2-1 in Lagos and drawing 1-1 at home. In 1974, more disappointment for Ghana. Ghana even beat then African champion Zaire 1-0 in Accra, but a 4-1 defeat in Lubumbashi meant Ghana finished second in the group and failed to qualify. The pattern repeated again. For Argentina 1978, Tunisia took Africa's only qualifying spot. Ghana's campaign ended in the second round of qualifying, where they were knocked out by Guinea, despite winning 2-1 at home, but they drew 1-1 away and then lost in the playoff. By 1982, FIFA had then expanded to 2 African slots, but Ghana's World Cup bid fell short again as Cameroon and Algeria claimed the slots. In each cycle, external factors always seem to be standing in the way of the mighty Black Stars, stopping them from competing on the world's biggest stage. First, it was limited slots, then tough opponents, and eventually political turmoil. The Black Stars' golden age was a paradox of brilliance and sorrow. They reigned supreme in Africa, but each year they watched the World Cup on television at home. Each AFCON victory was celebrated with pride, but each World Cup they missed was met with anguish and deep questions. At this point, I want to ask a question, and I want you to type your answer to this question in the comment section below. Who do you think is Ghana's greatest ever player? Have you got your answer? Great! So while you're down there in the comment section, please go ahead and drop a like on the video and subscribe if you want more content like this. So I'm not sure who you type below, but I'm going to make a guess that it's either one of 2 players. Either Ghana's greatest ever striker, Asamoah Gyan, or the man who was so good that he was named after Brazilian icon Pele, that is Abediayu Pele. Now we know that Asamoah Gyan led Ghana to their first ever World Cup appearance in 2006, which left a question in my mind. How did Abedi Pele and his squad never make it to the World Cup? So this led me down a research rabbit hole, and I found some very interesting things I want to share with you guys. That team Abedi Pele was a part of had their peak from the early 1990s to about the late 1990s. But Abedi Pele himself actually started with the team as part of the 1982 team that won the African Cup. By the early 1990s, Abedi Pele had grown up and was playing in Europe, and as a senior member of the team, he was the captain and he was the leader. However, Ghana also had another player who was making his mark in Europe at the same time, and he also had ambitions of being the man who finally led Ghana to the World Cup. This man is arguably Ghana's most talented striker of all time, Anthony "Tony" Yeboah. The Ghana team that went to the AFCON in 1992 is probably Ghana's best squad of all time. Aside from captain Abediayu Pele, who had won African Footballer of the Year 3 times in a row from 1991 to 1993, there was also Tony Yeboah, who won 2 Bundesliga Golden Boot awards in 1993 and 1994. Ghana also had other fantastic players. There were players like striker Prince Opoku Pole, midfielders Charles-Sike Akuno and Frimpong Manso, and veteran defender Tony Bafo. Observers noted that Ghana had arguably the best Black Stars squad of that era. That Black Stars squad we are talking about finished runners-up at the 1992 African Cup of Nations, losing the final to Ivory Coast on penalties. Abedi Pele was named the player of that tournament. Ghana also reached the knockout rounds in subsequent AFCON tournaments. They reached the quarterfinals in 1994 and finished 4th place in the tournament in 1996. In fact, many of the 1992 squad also formed the core of Ghana's 1992 Olympic team, which won a bronze medal, which was a very rare medal for an African team at the Olympics. Despite all this moderate success, Ghana still couldn't reach their ultimate prize, to compete on the biggest stage in the world, the World Cup. Despite Africa having multiple qualifying slots now, Ghana still failed to make it past the qualifying round. In the 1992-93 qualifiers, they were eliminated by Algeria. They drew 1-1 away and 1-1 at home, losing the playoff on penalties. In 96-97, they lost out to Nigeria again in the final round of CAF qualifying. Ghana had a supremely talented squad, but there was a key problem in the group. Former players argued that these failures to qualify for the World Cup were linked not to a lack of quality, but to a lack of team harmony. A center point of conflict was the captain's armband. In the 1992 AFCON final, Captain Abedi Pele was suspended after getting 2 yellow cards in the semi-finals, and veteran striker Tony Yeboah, who was the vice-captain, was expected to take over the armband. Instead, defender Tony Bafo was handed the armband. This surprise choice caused immediate tension because it was noted that Tony Bafo was a close friend of Abediayu Pele. Ghana Web reported that the players did not understand how Yeboah was not considered to lead, since Yeboah was a senior player in Abedi's absence. Former goalkeeper Abubakar Damba later said bluntly that after the switch, the players did not even play up to 50% of their ability in the final where they lost on penalties. Prince Opoku Pole, a member of that squad, explicitly blamed the captain change for Ghana's collapse. He said the decision changed the mood in the camp and dampened team spirit before the Ivory Coast final. Pole recalled the announcement of Bafo as the captain. He said it sapped their fighting spirit. "We had a good team," he said, "and we should have won that cup hands down. But the pettiness of a captain's armband robbed us of that trophy." He noted that Tony Yeboah had always led the team in the absence of Abedi Pele, and he had proved to be a worthy leader, implying that Yeboah might have inspired a better effort had he been made the captain. Similar rumors surfaced at the 1994 AFCON in Tunisia. Former Black Stars star defender Samuel Osei-Kuffour later observed that there was intense media speculation about a leadership issue between Abedi Ayew Pele and Tony Yeboah at that tournament. Tony Yeboah and Abedi Pele themselves denied any public feud, noting that their wives were even close friends. However, those inside the camp saw something very different. Later, interviews came out with ex-players suggesting that in the late 1990s, government officials even had to step in to try and calm the tensions between the two superstars. This is a situation that is said to have played a huge part in the team's failure to reach its heights. Sami Kuffour put it bluntly: "Ghana had a star-laden squad in the early 1990s with enough talent to easily reach the World Cup, but a rift between its two biggest players deeply affected the national team." Today, the Black Stars of the 1960s to the 1980s are immortalized in Ghana's and Africa's history. Their 4 AFCON titles actually remained Africa's record for many decades. Veterans from that era, from coach Jemfi and striker Osei Kofi to the young stars of 1982, are still revered, teaching a new generation of players. As Joseph Agyemang-Jewu remembered, those triumphs truly put Ghana on the map and showed the world Ghana's potential. It actually wasn't until 2006, as we mentioned earlier, that Ghana finally qualified for the World Cup and broke their half-century-long wait to finally compete on the world stage. That team, funnily enough, was the complete opposite of the star-studded team that repeatedly failed to qualify in the 1990s. This team was rather full of young upcoming talent, like striker Asamoah Gyan, who had never played for the team before the tournament. There was also Chelsea midfielder Michael Essien, captain Stephen Appiah, and young midfielder Sule Muntari, with the veteran defender Samuel Osei-Kuffour mentoring Ghana future captain John Mensah at the back. This team, which had far less superstar talent than the 1992 team, is actually viewed today as Ghana's golden generation. The Black Stars of Ghana have since gone on to qualify for 3 further World Cup tournaments. In 2010, they became one of only 3 African teams to reach the quarterfinals, and they narrowly missed out on becoming the first to reach the semi-finals. Then Ajax striker Luis Suarez handballed on the goal line, and striker Asamoah Gyan missed the resulting penalty, leading to Ghana exiting the tournament on penalties. In 2014, where they qualified again, the team was derailed by internal disputes, this time going out in the group stages. They failed to qualify in 2018, and in 2022 they made the World Cup after defeating Nigeria in the final round of qualifying. Despite the surprise victory, the young team, which is now led by new young stars like Thomas Partey and Mohamed Kudus, and with Abedi Pele's son Andre Ayew as the captain, failed to get out of the group yet again. The World Cup has now become Ghana's source of pride and success, while their dominance on the African stage has gone in the opposite direction. As of 1982, Ghana had the most AFCON tournament wins with 4 trophies, but since then, they have failed to win the AFCON again. Many countries have caught up to that total, and some have even surpassed it. Ghana have made many finals and semi-finals since 1982, but have always fallen short at the final hurdle. I'm sure if you asked any fan of the Black Stars today if they would choose between winning the AFCON and qualifying for the World Cup again, about 90% would choose to win the AFCON again. I'm actually thinking of making a video about Ghana's modern day struggles at the AFCON, a tournament which they once dominated at some point in the future. So let me know down in the comment section below if that's something you would like to see. Ghana is one of Africa's most beloved footballing nations. From the team that dominated African football from 1960 to 1980 but failed to make it to the World Cup, to the star-studded team of the 1990s who were distracted by internal disputes, and finally to the team of the 2000s and the 2010s who finally brought Ghana to the world stage. Ghana has always had a team capable of doing something special. Today, they are led by young stars like West Ham star Mohamed Kudus and Arsenal midfield general Thomas Partey, and we wait to see if Ghana can finally build a team that is capable of dominating both in Africa and making a real mark on the World Cup stage. If you enjoyed this episode of AfroDoccies, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. I'm planning to drop videos like this every week, so don't forget to come back and see what else I have in store for you. Anyways, that's about it for now. See you next time.